So Europe may be finally stepping up, and it appears that the Russians don't like it. This is a daily brief. My name is Darren Gerdes. I cover the news, and in the morning it's usually more military battlefield focus, and in the evening, later on in the day, when I do my three big stories, it's usually politically focused. But there's a lot more political news than there is like battlefield kind of updates right now. And by the way, when I say Europe's finally stepping up, I'm grieved as an American that Joe Biden slow walked aid for 3 years and Trump is doing things that don't look like they're very positive for Ukraine. So I'm not picking, I'm just trying to explain what's going on. Okay, 1,170 Russians off the battlefield. That's back down to the kind of low figures that we've seen over the last since February began. So the average in February is now below 13. It's 1297 with 1170, and there was only like 2 or 3 high days that were out of 11 and 12, maybe 13 over the course of February. Okay, 1170, 12 tanks, 12 armored fighting vehicles, 53 artillery systems, another air defense system, and 74 vehicles and fuel tanks. Okay, so let's look at Andrew Perpetua's list of like what was hit, and it's about 2 to 1, maybe just a little less than 2 to 1, something along those lines. Of those Russian losses to Ukrainian losses for vehicles and fuel tanks and things along those lines. Okay, when I went to sleep last night, this is one of the last things that I saw. Yes, I do check this at night, and then the first thing in the morning I check, and then kind of midday when I have a break I check. So this is what I saw when I went to sleep last night. Massive explosions rocking Kyiv right now, according to the Kyiv Post. Okay, what happened? 170 out of 176 Shahed drones shot down or disabled by electronic warfare or what have you. Some were deflected back to Belarus, whatever. So it wasn't a lot that got through, but some things do get through. And so here we are with Russia deployed active 12 channel Shahed drones to strike Mykolaiv, targeting critical infrastructure. The attack leaves 100,000 residents without heating amid freezing temperatures. Okay, so that's what they're trying to accomplish, and it had some effect. Not a lot of effect. Not 120 drones worth, or 100. What was it? 140, 170 drones were. Wasn't that much, but a few get through and do some damage nonetheless. So that's where we are yesterday. By the way, this 12 channel thing I was reading up about, the previous drones were 8 channels, so they're technologically improving the Shahed drones. That's the number of antennas or be able to switch between. Okay, let's go back to yesterday. Yesterday, they hit the Krypton oil pumping station, and I showed you the visuals, but I also showed you this map, but I didn't point out that this is where Krypton was relative to Ukraine. Okay, at least 17 Russian oil facilities have been attacked since the beginning of 2025. Nothing, I didn't see anything yesterday, but that means that there's an average of every 3 days, a little less than every 3 days, Ukraine's hitting an oil facility. And that's pretty remarkable that the rate at which this is going. And so they're doing some significant damage here. Meanwhile, logistics in the Russian army. Here's donkeys in the service of the Russian army, just transporting stuff. Let me get to the beginning here. Yep, donkeys. They've asked for vehicles and they get donkeys. And I mean, donkeys are serviceable. They actually could work, but that's what's happening here. Vladimir Vladimirovich, this is what we're fighting for. A Russian soldier who lost his leg in the war, he's actually holding up his artificial leg, complains that his district hospital, the chief physician, gives out necessary medicines only for bribes. In turn, the prosecutor not only does not solve the problem, but also covers it up in every way possible, he complains. So this is how veterans are complaining about what's going on with the Russian system. Okay. With that, we see this. And I almost skipped over this just because I see so many of these. The fighters of the 247th Airborne Assault Regiment recorded a video message. They complain that the command is sending them into certain death. The paratroopers say that they're being used like meat. I mean, how many times have we heard this before? It's again and again and again and again. Without air and equipment support, okay, so that's without air support, which is it's pretty tough when there's air support on the other side and there's not on yours. And that's been Ukraine's experience for most of the war. And now they figured out how to do this with drones to have essentially close air support with drones so that you can't actually cross that field in a reasonable, meaningful way. Okay, the fighters are demoralized and afraid to go to the front lines due to the lack of proper support. So, again, I almost didn't show it because these things are almost a dime a dozen now, but it shows you where they are. Okay, what I'm about to show you did not happen yet, but this is what I mean by Europeans it looks like they're about to step up in a meaningful way, in a very meaningful way. Anton Gerashenko says the EU will announce the largest military aid package for Ukraine probably next week, about 700 billion with a B, 700 billion euro, 700 billion. Like we talk about the US aid package that was held up last year was like 60 billion, and total US support is north of 100 billion, not quite 200 billion, 700 billion aid package. Had this been done in the first year of the war, we wouldn't be talking about it right now. But 700 billion euro. We will launch a large package that has never been seen on this scale before. German Foreign Minister Baerbock said, comparing it to the response to the coronavirus crisis and calling it the financial package for security in Europe. Yeah, they're getting the message. So it's unfortunate that it took so long, but they're getting the message that they don't really have another choice. Otherwise, worse things will happen. Defense Minister of Lithuania added, quote, "We need to spend quickly on defense and a lot. Hundreds of billions need to be spent immediately. We will all have to act quickly, including Germany." According to Mark Rutte, the financial package will focus on military training, acceleration of aid, arms, supplies, and what Europe can offer for security guarantees. So I don't know how it'll be spent, but it seems like they're getting it. Like, it seems like I think that JD Vance is going to be patting himself on the back saying, see, what I said worked and Europe is stepping up. I think that's the unfortunate message he's going to send, or he's going to take away from this. Not that I've just alienated all my allies in Europe, but nevertheless, Europe is getting the idea and they're stepping into it. Okay. Instead of working, this Maria Zakharova saying, instead of working to improve the well-being of its citizens, Europe is preparing for war with Russia. Okay. Uh, I mean, I don't even know how, like, the hypocrisy of that statement is just astonishing. Okay, there's a German aid package as well here. Germany provided a new military aid package for Ukraine. We're sincerely grateful to our German friends for their ironclad support in the fight, and includes this huge laundry list. The timing is a little suspicious, though. So today is Tuesday, February 18th. Sunday is the German elections. And so it just seems a little suspect that such a large aid package is coming just now. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. What will be the status of peacekeepers in Ukraine? Because now they're talking about, different countries are talking about, will they send peacekeepers, won't they? France, Sweden, and the United Kingdom are discussing the possibility of deployment. The discussions are only beginning, but history weighs heavily on them. Will their mandate be bold and effective, or will the tragedy of Rwanda repeat, where powerless peacekeepers became silent witnesses to genocide? Okay, so the United Kingdom is ready and willing to deploy its troops to Ukraine if necessary as part of security guarantees, according to the Prime Minister. And then we see this, discussions of German peacekeepers in Ukraine are irritating and premature. This is for Scholz. Like, Scholz does not want to do that. German Chancellor called for separate financing mechanisms for Ukraine support and criticized discussions about peace terms without Ukrainian participation. Okay, I can get that last little bit about peace terms without Ukrainian participation, but he does not want to see German peacekeepers going to Ukraine. Now, Russia, where are they? Russia is categorically against the deployment of European troops in Ukraine, no matter what role they play there. Well, of course they are, because, like, well, why would they want any extra strength going to Ukraine? Of course they don't want that, but you don't get a vote in that. So that's the way it works. Okay, my daughter saw this. This is UN Home Security, a commercial parody from what is it? UCB Comedy. UCB Comedy is Upright Citizens Brigade, and I thought this is perfect. And she showed it. She was like, "Yeah, you ought to show this on your channel." Okay, here we go.
You're watching
Just
Bubblegum.
wow.
Every 15 seconds, a home is broken into. That's why you need United Nations Home Security. United Nations Home Security protects your home exactly how the United Nations has protected countries since 1945.
Okay, so let's predict, how are they going to protect the home? How good is this security going to be? Because like that's the point here. It's showing what the the UN has actually done in the world when they sent their blue helmets to places.
Dispatching to your house a team of highly trained, unarmed observers. Their job is to watch the burglar and take notes. His every move is seen and carefully documented. Then our 192-member United Nations Home Security Council debates until everyone can agree on an appropriate response, such as economic incentives.
I mean, it's almost painful to watch the parody. Like, parodies are not supposed to be like that, right? But yeah.
And if that doesn't work, economic sanctions. And if that also doesn't work, strongly worded condemnations.
Okay, I can't even watch anymore. There's the rest of the commercial. You can watch that. Go to Upright Citizens Brigade, and it's UN Home Security, a commercial parody from UCB Comedy. But I hope that that's not how this plays out. Now, how are the Russians seeing what's going on here? 70% of Russians now believe that the so-called special operation is successful, up from 57% in 2023. Among those who rely on state propaganda, this number jumps to 84%. Now, that's why I show you Solyov Live and other state propaganda, because they're trying to send particular messages out. Like so what message are they trying to send? For 3 years, opinions have barely changed. 80% still trust Russia's leadership. 75% think that Putin cares about ordinary Russians. How about that? 30% say life is worsened in 20 years. 38% feel the impact of sanctions. 50% of young Russians reporting negative effects. So, I mean, their propaganda system is working. Okay. I talk a lot about drones and asymmetric warfare and that sort of thing. And I saw this Ryan Macbeth interviewing, and this is very brief, but it's useful.
Deputy Minister of Defense Boyan from Ukraine, and he's going to tell us what Ukraine has discovered about future conflict.
Ukraine has discovered that you can fight scale with asymmetric approach. Cheaper but smart weapons based on AI can help you do whatever the most expensive super advanced things that your adversary can come up with do not work.
So Russia has much more human beings, and so they just send in human beings like meat. The Ukrainians don't have that, and because they don't have that, they're going to have to fight differently, and they know it, and so they're trying to take away the numerical advantage with drones, and that's why drones are
invented
important.
Naval drones, which defeated the Russian fleet in the Black Sea. We invented deep strike UAVs that are impeding Russia's ability to generate force and increase defense industry. And I think the next big thing will be unmanned ground vehicles, which will help us replace our soldiers on the battlefront.
Did you hear that? The next thing is unmanned ground vehicles. That's what we're looking forward to next. By the way, this is a Russian soldier. He's on crutches. And if we look at this and see what's about to happen, this is just a video from the drone. Yeah, he's throwing the crutch at a drone. Like, this is unbelievable, but this is where the Russians are in the way that they value life. Okay. Darth Putin, on this day in 2016, the MSF stopped sharing the locations of this is the acronym for the Medicines Sans Frontiers, that's Doctors Without Borders, stopped sharing the locations of their hospitals with the Russian Air Force because we kept using the information to bomb them. Like they said, hey, our hospitals are here. Please don't bomb these. We're giving you the locations and the coordinates so that you don't bomb them. And they use that information to bomb the hospitals. Why you think that Russia would change their approaches, I just don't understand. This is what they did before. The EU punished me this by agreeing to open Nord Stream 2. Okay. All right, last little bit. Black in the Empire posted this 16 February 2022. When Russia never invades Ukraine, our State Department is going to take credit for stopping the invasion that was never going to happen. Yeah. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.